Hello, this is Mikhail Tank. I'm a performance artist, podcast host of the Archetypal Mosaic, author, and multimedia artist. You can check out my website at mikhailtank.com, mikhailtank.com, and verify social media at Mikhail Tank. Today I'd like to discuss an artistic perspective of Tori Amos, excellent 1998 record from the Choirgirl Hotel. The reason I'd like to discuss this is because it's a dark time right now. It's a rough time in the world. For some, very rough. And I'd like to talk about this as a healing album during rough times. Again, this is my artistic perspective of Tori Amos's great work. By no means am I affiliated with the great Miss Amos, or is this kind of like a fully professional critique. This is an artist's view. So this record, which has 12 tracks, and actually includes a 13th track on the Japanese bonus edition called Purple People. I have an interesting story about that too. I've actually met the Purple People, the real ones, and I'll talk about that as well. It's kind of like a group of people who live in Northern California, known as they used to drive purple vehicles and stuff. I had a chance to meet them and to be invited to discuss their way of living. As an artist, it's very important to understand different perspectives, and I appreciate that. So I'd like to talk about this album for the purpose of, you see, the first single is called Spark, and Spark deals with two extremely painful issues. Tori's lyrics happen to have a lot of aphorisms, a lot of mythological and archetypal substance, and a lot of unconscious variations. What I've heard Tori say about the girls, meaning, of course, the songs, the muses, come to her, through her, and in this case, they're very varied. It's like such a varied bunch that basically stay in an underground hotel. At the same time, Spark is about, as far as I understand, both from her and from my soul. And I believe Tori has a very Russian soul, just like I do. In a good way, of course. In the deep way, in the artistic way, not in the negative way. So what I like to say is that Spark is about losing your child, because when this record came out, Tori had her miscarriage, one of several, I believe the first, and the pain and the responsibility that she felt towards this loss is expressed in this record. That's pretty much what the record is focused on, and everything that goes about it. You know, what's interesting is in the cover art, like the final song on the standard edition, called Pandora's Aquarium, of course, kind of a reference to Pandora's box, but in this case, the nautical. Tori appears to be inside a womb or inside an aquarium, and both of those things are, of course, related. So the first track, Spark, deals with many important issues. One of them is the loss of her child, unborn child. The second is suicidal thoughts, which of course she dispels and wishes for life and decides on life, which is very important. And the third, she uses a word in the beginning, which I've actually utilized a similar word since 1992 when my Dark Soul Theater came out when I was still a teenager. It's a similar concept about light from dark. You know, when I heard the track, when I was just finishing high school, I heard her track, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, I've heard many of Tori's tracks before Spark came out, but when she said there's a line about light from dark, you know, I've used that line since 92 in my art, in the Dark Soul art, and I just heard it and I thought, oh my God, we're in sync artistically. I'm not saying that, you know, we're, you know, I'm not pretending to understand or to know Tori well. I just saying that artistically speaking, we went there to that place, a place where light comes from darkness. It's so dark, right? It's so dark that there's only two options, whether there's non-existence or there's light. It's that place, the circular place, the place of renewal and the place of resurrection. That's what it is resurrection. It's almost a continuous resurrection, an unconscious to conscious resurrection, which in a Jungian concept would be considered the transcendent function, which I had a great honor of presenting a concept on that during a Jungian conference in Sicily called the Art and Psyche Conference back in 2015. In attendance was part of Jung's family, of course. Jung himself has passed on, but the living part. You can check that out on my website. So there's a lot of depth, a tremendous amount of depth. Now, the reason why I chose this record for this time and space that we're in this February of 2022, late February, is because of the concept of the double negative and the double positive. You see, for some people, when it's very dark out energetically, maybe a happy pop song will get them through, and I commend that if that's true. But for some, this will help because the pain, the incubation, I would say the reverse incubation that Tori went through in this record, where she had to basically she had to go down to Hades and visit with her passed on child, talk to the spirit, and say such a beautiful line, which was new to me and is so beautiful. She said, you know, something to the effect of that I'm, you know, you can't compare me to the angels that take care of you. I am, you know, I will always love you more, and I'll always be more important than the angels. I'm kind of paraphrasing the thought. And that's such a unique and beautiful concept that you can say to somebody who's not on this plane, who is on another plane, who is departed. You could say that I'm here on this plane, and I still love you more than anyone ever will on any plane. And I will go down to the bottom of the ocean, to the bottom of Hades, where this hotel lies, and I will tell you that I love you. And then I have to let go, and I have to swim back up. It's also very interesting to me that the record ends with Pandora's Aquarium, and it ends with a very kind of shrieking long note, which is beautiful. It's like a siren, literally, in several, there's at least three to four connotations that come into my mind about sirens at this moment, including what's going on. The siren of the sea, the siren of the war, the siren inside, and there's actually more. There's the emergency, there's the ambulance siren. There's like maybe 6 or 7 sirens that immediately come in, and only 2 of them are positive. But all of the above, they kind of mesh into one, and they kind of pull her out of the of the aquarium, of the gestation, of the reverse incubation, energetically speaking, and bring her back into life. Bring her back to gulp the air of life, which is something that we're all kind of doing right now. I don't think everybody just wishes for life. Nobody wants, destruction. Ultimately, we want that breath of life. We don't want to be, frozen in disbelief. We want life. And this album ends with coming out of the aquarium and grasping life again. What's also interesting is that the Japanese version ends with purple people, and she questions them. She goes, do you do judo? Do you do mental yoga and disappear? Basically, where do the purple people go, and what do they take with them? And I'm not talking about the purple people that I've met, which are actually, kind of like a group, which was well known, especially in the 90s, when this was actually written and released. And I'm not even sure if Tori discusses the same group, which was famous in California. But it changes the dynamic of the album. As opposed to coming for life and for air, it goes back into the shadows and questioning the shadows. Where did you take her? Where did you take everything that's lost? And leaving it with a question. And it's an interesting dynamic energy change in the finale of the album, whether you're grasping air and coming back from the water, or whether you're still questioning the shadows. Of course, in between, there is Cruel, which of course is a track which is very relevant to this time. Cruelty is war. So, and Tori asks, I can be cruel, I don't know why. It's an interesting concept when you can face that side of yourself, and when you try to figure out how have you been hurt by life, that you're hurting others, and that questions that. Then there is Black Dove, Raspberry Swirl, where she says when it's a problem when boys can't become men, so then I'll be taking that role. And that's an interesting concept where, a lot of people, dislike the patriarchy and stuff, but there has to be a balance. And just like, everyone who wants to mature should be able to mature, and should not be cut off because of, a variety of misunderstandings. So it's interesting that she brings that up there. There's Jackie's Strength, which, when it came out, I think a lot of people, and I don't recall if it's based on Jackie Onassis. I don't recall that, maybe or maybe not, but it deals with a really interesting lyric as well, where Tori basically, she goes, what black magic can do, and I pray and I pray. There's a dichotomy there between, the dark and the light again, and of course, that's what true art is about. That's what my art is about. I.e., why I love that song is the question, why do they scream in cathedrals? Why can't they be beautiful? Which brings into account the whole point of, when you ask for something, when you ask for life, can you do it with intention? Can you do it with goodwill, as opposed to in the choir screaming, from Hades? The rest of the tracks, the next three tracks kind of, I would say, get lost with me. I can't connect to those three tracks. The Liquid Diamonds, She's Your Cocaine, Northern Lad, I don't quite connect to them. I reconnect back with the last three tracks, which is Hotel, Play by Mommy, and Pandora's Aquarium. And what happens there is the hotel, as she says, the underground hotel, the hotel under the earth. And we know what that is. That is Hades, literally. Playboy Mommy is the most touching track on the record, and the one that Tori performed live in the EPK, which is the digital press, or at that point not a digital press kit, but electronic press kit, I believe it was called. It's a track that really examines one's feeling of not only of loss, but the responsibility of loss. What did you do wrong when something was taken from you? And the real answer is nothing. It wasn't your fault, Tori, and you are loved. And everybody who loses something that they don't want to lose, they question, what did they contribute to that loss? Was it karma? Was it the fact that they don't deserve it? Or was it the fact that they thought or did or said something incorrect? The truth of the matter is, I'm not sure that any of us will know the answer, but love is definitely the ultimate answer. And Tori proved that. Love gave her the continuation that she asked for. It wasn't the first try, it wasn't the second try, but she succeeded. And I believe that Playboy Mommy was a way to release that guilt. A guilt which is non-deserved, but it's just the guilt of the unconscious that we can carry. So that was really, 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 really beautiful. And then Pandora's Aquarium, I already discussed. So altogether, it's a song cycle. It's a thematic album. It's a concept record. And it really works during rough times. And the reason why I'm even doing this video is definitely not for to talk about myself. The whole point is to discuss, again, how darkness can protect from darkness, how light can come from it, how the concept of choosing life over death and love over destruction, all of these things are in this record and in both of our art, which are, of course, separate. But at the same time, Tori, if you're listening, I wish you blessings. And to the audience, I wish you peace.